No matter where we're traveling, one of the most important things we are always going to consider is safety. But the world is a large and diverse place, and sometimes it's just hard to predict when and where things are going to happen. So we are currently in Guatemala, a country we love, and over the weekend a political situation has escalated that has us really paying attention to our safety. So we thought we would make this video about things that it is important for every traveler to know to be able to take care of themselves when things invariably happen. So do you want to start with like what's going on?
Well, okay, so we've been here for over a month now in Guatemala. We spent a month in Antigua. It was beautiful, everything, weather, the people. We just have been loving our time here. Then we came here. We're going to spend our second month in Guatemala City. We were here about a week. Everything was fine. We were preparing to go do our sightseeing, and we started hearing rumblings of protests. Now, basically the situation, there was an election a while back, and the transition of power is not going smoothly. And so there are people protesting in hopes that they can rectify the situation.
Yeah,
So-
we're not going to be able to give you great information
not
about
gonna-
what is actually happening. Like our perspective of it is so skewed as a foreigner. We don't understand the intricacies of it at all. We're having a hard time getting like accurate information because anything that comes out is in Spanish. And so we're getting translations of that mostly from other expats who often have their own personal bias that they're, including when they tell us the story. So the reality is we don't really know what's going on, but enough is going on that it's causing a lot of problems.
There's a little unrest, and
Yeah.
we know there are protests happening.
Yeah. So what has happened is that blockades started happening on the major roads. This is a very common, like kind of form of protest in Latin America. We've experienced it in other places. We saw it in Honduras. We saw it in Peru. And usually it's stuff that happens. And it's, as a tourist, it doesn't really affect us very much. We just kind of hunker down for a couple of days. We can't go travel, but then it passes. We never really know why or what the result was, but it usually goes by pretty quickly. So when we first started hearing about that happening here, we didn't really think it was going to be that big of a deal. Yeah. It happened, on the road from here to Antigua, but in a lot of other places as well. I think I heard it was like 17 different arteries got, blocked, and so traffic couldn't get through.
And then that went up to about
But then
20.
every
and then that
day
went
it kept getting more.
I think as high as 80 blockades around the
Yeah,
country.
it's really been escalating. I heard over 100.
Oh,
so
bigger.
it's a lot of stuff that's happening. And since no one can travel around, it's hard enough for people that are trying to get around. But the big issue is that goods can't travel around.
So fuel.
Food. We've seen a lot of stuff, especially in the smaller communities where, the grocery stores are empty and, people are struggling to find food. So here in the city, now this is the irony is that normally visitors don't really spend very much time in Guatemala City. We kind of came here on purpose because we wanted to kind of explore this city and find out, is it really as bad as people say? It's a huge city, 3 million people. There are areas that are considered safe for travelers to come to, so we thought we would check it out. Now we're here and we're seeing the rest of the country get shut down and, be on food scarcity. And we're not really seeing that.
No,
as
because it's a
much.
big enough city with enough supplies, we are doing okay.
Yeah. When the first day we heard about that, I think it was last Saturday night. Today's Tuesday. So Saturday night we saw pictures online of, empty grocery stores. So Sunday morning, like at 7:30 when the grocery store opened, we went over and it's a big, kind of American style grocery store. And it was not crowded. All the shelves were stocked. So we were like, okay, we're not going to have so much of a problem with that, which was good.
Yeah.
So we did some shopping, we got some stuff, but we didn't really worry about it.
Yeah.
And then things continued to get worse. And so by Monday, We had heard, so it's one of the other things too, is like trying to get reliable information. But we heard on Facebook groups and stuff that there were big demonstrations happening, not where we are in Guatemala City, but up where the main square is and kind of the political offices are. We're in what, Zone 9, which is kind of the financial district. And so,
And we still are seeing things here. There are
yes.
protests that go up and down the roads. They're peaceful. It's mostly just a lot of horn blowing and flag waving. So
Yeah.
nothing to really be concerned about.
But it's there. Like, we're very
We're
aware
keeping
of
away
it.
from it. But
Yeah. But up in the main square, apparently, and we don't know if this is true or not, it's just what we're hearing, that there were maybe some riots, there was some looting, police came in with tear gas. And so, again, this made us very nervous because if things are really escalating along that way, we had some food, but we didn't have tons. There's lots of restaurants around us. And on Monday, we kind of looked around and everything was open. And so we didn't really think it was going to be that big of a deal. But then we heard, there were riots. And then some major retailers started announcing they were closing. So McDonald's closed all their restaurants.
the dollar store, which is like
Yeah.
their main source of home supplies, McDonald's, Walmart, a
Yeah.
lot of things are closing down.
So now we're starting to, it's kind of been our thing. And in the daytime, we go walk around and it doesn't seem that big of a deal. Definitely this week compared to last week, there are a lot more businesses closed
A lot quieter.
and not as many people around. But still, the people that are around they don't seem scared or
running their
nervous.
day-to-day
And
lives.
like I said, all the restaurants had been open. So we're like, well, maybe it's going to be okay. But then in the evenings, we get home and start hearing all these bad things. And we're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What are we going to have to do? So today we went to the grocery store again. And it was a little bit different. The produce was pretty much cleaned out. The meat
meats.
section was really low. Bread was really low. But other than that, everything else seemed to be okay, and it wasn't very crowded.
No.
Although again, we're there at 7:30 in the morning, so I don't know what to expect there. But we bought a ton of groceries today. We're here for 3 more weeks, so everything that we bought is stuff we'll be able to use while we're here. We didn't buy anything crazy, but we just wanted to have enough stuff that if things really do shut down, we're not going to be hungry for food. And then as we walked around, like I said, the McDonald's are closed, but some of the other stuff still seemed to be open. So clearly we're just going to have to take it day by day. Again, though, the people on the street seem very relaxed. A lot of stores just normally have security guards out front and they have big guns. There's a lot of banks in this area. But even the security guards, we'd walk by and they're like, oh, buenos dias. People don't seem scared. But I think it's because of the neighborhood that we're in that it's not really, affecting us too much.
Yes.
Okay, so we made a list of things to do to help keep yourself. Part of it is just things can be frustrating when you don't know what's going on, and it can be a little scary. And if there are physical things you can do for yourself, it's going to make you feel better about it, as well as helping to keep you safe. So one of the first things you're going to want to do if you are an American citizen, the U.S. Department of State has a program called the STEP program, and you are going to want to go online and register. And what it does is it notifies that local embassy where you are. You put in your travel, where you are, your dates that you're there, and then you can get email updates from them. So if they have any recommendations, they're going to let you know. If things get dangerous, you put in like your address and phone number, and they can contact you. We did this once before. So back in 2020, we actually got stranded in the Galapagos in Ecuador because of COVID. We landed, Ecuador shut down the next day, and we were just like stuck out on this island with very little information of what was actually happening. And so we registered with the STEP program, and we got emails from the embassy. It wasn't always very helpful because they don't always know what's going on either, but at least we had some connection and they knew that we were there. So here in Guatemala City, we have just done the same thing. They did send us a notice that says they are not recommending people, freak out and evacuate. This is probably something that's going to pass, but we're keeping an eye on it. And, they were just letting us know. So that felt really good that, they know that we're here and we're getting that information from them.
Also, contact all of your people back home. Let them know where you are, what your plans are, any way they can communicate with you, just so that if anything happens, there is a way to get in touch. We took advantage of this a lot when we were in Ecuador during COVID. You may think that the people are thousands of miles away and there is nothing they can do, but surprisingly, they can help quite a bit.
Yeah.
They can make phone calls to airlines or at the time, his mom was calling elected officials to try to see what they could do for us. So it really helps to be in touch with people back home.
Another thing you can do is just to be prepared is make sure you take pictures on your phone of like your passports and other important documents in case you get stuck out somewhere and you don't have it on you. You want to have that information with you. Another good thing to have is the address of the place that you're staying. Because if you're wandering around town and you get detained somewhere for whatever reason and someone says, "Where do you live?" You don't want to say, "Oh, well, I'm that way." And, oh, you just have the address. You can show it to a taxi driver or whatever, just to be prepared in case something happens.
Also, have a safe place to be. Whether that's your hostel or your Airbnb, make sure you have a place that you can go that is away from all the action.
Yeah.
And if you're out walking around, be aware of stores you can walk into if a protest goes by or any locations where you can be sheltered and safe.
Another thing you're going to want to pay attention to is drinking water. Now, this, of course, is going to depend on the country that you're in. Guatemala is a place where most of the time you have to buy drinking water. And so if you're going to have to shelter in place for a while, you want to make sure you have enough that it's going to be able to get you through an emergency. We are really lucky here. In Antigua, we had to deal with drinking water. The water out of the taps was not potable. But here in Guatemala City, we're staying in this really nice apartment. It's a condo, high rise, and we actually have a water filter in the sink so we can get drinking water straight from the sink. And that is a huge relief. But just make sure you've got enough that you're not going to run out and have a problem.
Next, food. Have enough food. I don't know much more to say about that. Go to the stores, stock up. If non-perishable items are best, so we've bought soups and crackers and pastas and peanut butter and things that can be refrigerated for a long amount of time, milk and eggs that we can keep. So that is what we are doing.
This is going to be a personal thing, but if you do have any like medications or personal needs, make sure you can, if you've got the opportunity, stock up on those so you don't, if you have to stay in your apartment for a week, you want to make sure you've got what you need to get by.
Next, have some cash on hand because you never know if you have to leave your apartment and get to the airport. You may not be able to use credit cards.
Yeah.
You never know what situations might come up where you'll need cash. So try to get some cash, put it in your pockets, and have it with you.
Even here, like if the restaurants were to close down, there are usually vendors out selling food on the streets, but they're not going to take a credit card.
No.
So definitely having some cash is something that can come in handy.
Yes.
What else do we got? Make sure you keep your devices charged. I don't think this is probably something we're going to have to worry about here. But blackouts can happen and you just want to make sure you've got your devices charged and ready to go in case something happens.
Right. This next one I'm going to let you talk about because you're the one who usually looks at this. It's have contact with other people who are also traveling in your area.
Yeah. In this case, it's really easy. I got onto Facebook and looked up expat Facebook groups in Guatemala, and I signed up for a couple of those, and people love to talk. And so that's where we're getting most of our information. Now, one word of caution, you do have to watch these groups with a little bit of discretion. Because there are definitely, sky is falling people. There are people who aren't in the country even maybe who are getting ready to come or who have already left, and they have very strong opinions as well. And so you have to kind of wade through it a little bit to tell where you're getting your reliable information from. But it's been really great because people have been posting pictures of, the grocery store shelves. People have been talking about going through the airport and what that experience is like, because it's changing from day to day. Like we said, they've run out of jet fuel now. And so that's changing how that airport, it's still operating. The planes are flying overhead. We can hear them. But it changes how it operates. And things are changing day to day. And so those can be really great places. I think to get accurate information, you want to go to local sources, but all of that is in Spanish and I can't read it, or I can't read enough of it to get the important parts of it. So these Facebook groups have been really, really helpful.
Yeah, another great place to get information is from the host of wherever you're staying. We happen to be at an Airbnb, and our host has been in great contact with us, letting us know if we need anything, we can reach out. Also, if you're in a hotel, check with the front desk people. They live there. They generally have a better idea of what is happening than a lot of people on the internet.
Yeah. So this is going to be just a general safety idea is to, if a demonstration goes by, avoid them. I will admit, even for me, because we're pretty safety conscious, but we did see a demonstration go by, and one of my thoughts that I had was, ooh, I should run down and get some video, so we could show you what it looks like. Because from up here, we're on like the 10th floor, you can't see anything. But that's not always going to be the smart thing to do, right? Because you never know. I don't know about this situation, but in others, if you're some white guy standing in the shadows taking video of them, if they're concerned for their safety, or if they're worried about people tattling on them, for participating, you just never know what that dynamic is going to be. It's not like a parade where they're like, yeah, we're here for a picture. Imagine if you were at home doing something, protesting something, and some Karen comes up with her phone and starts videoing you. It changes the dynamic and can become tense. So I did not go down and get video. We're avoiding that. Here, everything that we have seen has been very peaceful and loud, so we know where they are, and we've just made sure to avoid them altogether.
Yeah, and basically, overall, what we're doing for the moment is we're just staying home.
Yeah.
We're not going out into the neighborhoods where it would be hard to get home. We're not going to other districts. We're staying home. We have stuff to keep us occupied here. We're watching a little TV. We're working on our videos. We're writing. We're reading.
It's not the most exciting part of our vacation, but we're able to hunker down. I mean, that's one of the benefits of being a slow traveler. And we're enjoying knowing that we are safe because, we can control the variables here in the apartment.
Yes.
Yeah. This is some advice. So I used to work in a hospital, and this is advice training that we got in case, stuff happens. So obviously the first thing you want to do is avoid being around the demonstrations. We're certainly not going to go up, to the main square where the looting is happening and try and, get a look of it. But sometimes stuff does happen. And so if you do find yourself in a situation that is unsafe, where demonstrations are coming through or protesters are rioting, the first thing you want to do is run away. You just want to get away from it. Don't, try and be cool. Don't try and be a looky-loo. Just run away and get your body to physical safety. If you can't run away, if your route is blocked off, there's tear gas, there's stuff happening, the second thing you want to do if you can't run is then you want to hide. Just find a place that you can hopefully put a physical barrier. If you can get behind a door or something, that's going to be even better. Lock yourself away. What you want to think about is making yourself be invisible, right? Turn your phone off so it's not ringing. You don't want to be screaming and carrying on. You want to make yourself as invisible as possible so that don't become a target. Again, here, we are not the targets of anything that's going on. I'm not too worried about any of that happening. But, stuff happens around the world. You just want to be prepared. First run, then hide.
Then also think about having an evacuation plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to leave the country or leave the city or the area, how are you going to do that? What kind of transportation are you going to use? Are there going to be tickets available if you need an airplane or a bus? Plan ahead and make sure that that is something you can do.
Yeah. Again, it's the irony of us being here in Guatemala City. Our second choice was to go out to Lake Antigua, Atitlan, which we've been before and is amazing and beautiful. And if we were there and had to evacuate, like it would be a challenge getting through all the road blockades to get here to get to an airport. Luckily, here in Guatemala City, we could walk to the airport if we needed to. It's not that far away. Like I said, we can hear the flights going over. They're still happening. We're paying attention. Tickets are available. Like we could, if we really had to evacuate, we could carry our bags there and fly somewhere else. Whatever that means for you, wherever you are, just kind of get that plan in your head. Hopefully that never happens and we don't have to worry about it. Certainly when we had to leave Ecuador because of COVID, that was a nightmare because it wasn't just, here in one place. That was the whole world that was shut down and flights were all canceled, and trying to find one that worked and get tickets and getting to the place we needed to be. It was a nightmare. But even there, we made it happen. It's just being prepared and being aware and ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the tips that we have. If you have more tips, please post those so that other people can see other options that they might have.
Yeah, because we're speaking from our experience, which, is limited. And so if you've been in other situations and there's stuff that helped you or that you think would help other people, we would love to hear about that for sure.
Yes.
I think for now, like I said, here in Ecuador or in Guatemala, things are continuing to escalate. I know the president spoke last night, and from what I gather, not everybody was very happy with what he said. So we're taking this day by day and we'll see what happens. Technically, we have 3 weeks left here in Guatemala. We are hoping things resolve because we want to go explore. There's some more things we want to do. But we're the visitors here, and so it's not up to us. We're kind of just taking it day by day. Today we feel safe. And if that situation changes, we know where the airport is and we will not hesitate to use that. So hopefully things are going to go well.
Yep. Hope for everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for watching today. We will be posting this one, I think, early.
Yeah, I think we'll probably post this off our normal schedule since it is kind of just, the world is crazy right now with, what's going on in Israel, and Ecuador is having problems. We have a friend who's in Taiwan. There was just a massive hurricane that went through and wiped out the little village that he's been living in. There's lots of stuff going on. The world is a crazy place, and you just want to make sure you're prepared.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. We will see you around next time.
Today and not tomorrow.